The Los Angeles Lakers suffered a devastating blow on Christmas Day as their rising star Austin Reeves exited the game against the Houston Rockets due to a concerning left calf injury. The timing couldn't be worse for a Lakers team desperately trying to maintain their position in the Western Conference playoff race. After playing just 15 minutes in the first half of the nationally televised matchup at Crypto.com Arena, Reeves was unable to return for the second half, leaving his teammates to battle without one of their most valuable contributors in what became a lopsided defeat. The injury occurred during what appeared to be a routine first half of play. Reeves had been performing well before the setback, scoring 12 points on 5 of 8 shooting with a rebound, an assist, and a block in his limited action. However, as the Lakers headed into halftime, team medical staff quickly determined that something was wrong. Lakers coach JJ Redick revealed that Reeves clearly felt something unusual, and as the team was preparing to return to the court for the third quarter, Director of Player Performance and Health, Dr. Leroy Sims informed Redick that Reeves would not be able to continue playing. What makes this injury particularly troubling for the Lakers is that Reeves had only recently returned from a similar left calf strain that forced him to miss 3 consecutive games. He had returned to action just 2 days earlier against the Phoenix Suns, where he came off the bench and scored 17 points in 22 minutes. For the Christmas Day game against Houston, Lakers coach JJ Redick had reinstated Reeves into the starting lineup and indicated he would no longer be operating under a minutes restriction, suggesting the team believed he was fully recovered from his previous injury. The recurrence of the calf problem raises serious questions about whether Reeves rushed back too quickly or if this represents a more significant issue that could sideline him for an extended period. Following the game, Reeves left Crypto.com Arena without wearing a brace on his left leg, which could be interpreted as either a positive sign or simply precautionary. The team has scheduled an MRI for Friday to determine the precise nature and severity of the injury, which will provide crucial information about his potential timeline for return. Lakers superstar Luka Doncic, who has personal experience with calf injuries, offered words of caution and support for his backcourt teammate during the post-game press conference. Doncic dealt with his own calf strain last season while still with the Dallas Mavericks, missing 32 regular season games before being traded to Los Angeles. That injury lingered well into his Lakers tenure and affected his performance during the playoffs, where the team was eliminated by the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round. Drawing from that difficult experience, Doncic urged Reeves to prioritize his long-term health over any desire to return quickly to help the struggling team. The timing of this injury is particularly cruel for Reeves, who has been enjoying a breakout campaign that has elevated him into all-star consideration. Entering the Christmas Day game, the fifth-year guard was averaging career-high numbers across the board, 27.3 points per game on 50.4% shooting, along with career-best averages of 6.5 assists and 5.4 rebounds. His emergence as a legitimate secondary star alongside Doncic has been one of the most significant positive developments for the Lakers this season. Earlier this week, Coach Redick publicly campaigned for Reeves to receive his first All-Star selection, praising both his statistical production and his growth as a leader. Redick mentioned having conversations with Reeves about how surreal the situation has been for an undrafted player who signed with the Lakers as a free agent in 2021 to now be playing at such an elite level and competing for a spot on the All-Star roster. The injury threatens to derail not only Reeves' All-Star candidacy, but also the Lakers' hopes of climbing higher in the competitive Western Conference standings. The Lakers will now face uncertainty about their backcourt rotation heading into crucial games. With Reeves potentially facing another extended absence, the team will need other players to step up and fill the void. Marcus Smart started the second half in Reeves' place against Houston, and the Lakers will likely lean more heavily on their veteran guards to carry the offensive load. The situation represents a significant test for a Lakers team that has already dealt with numerous injury challenges throughout the season and cannot afford to lose one of their most consistent performers for any extended period of time during this critical stretch of the campaign. The Los Angeles Lakers find themselves at a critical crossroads after their humiliating Christmas Day defeat to the Houston Rockets. And according to prominent NBA insider Kevin O'Connor, major roster changes are inevitable if the franchise hopes to salvage their championship aspirations. The 119-96 loss exposed deep-rooted problems that go far beyond simple effort and execution, prompting league insiders to speculate that general manager Rob Pelinka will be forced to make significant moves before the February 5th trade deadline to address the team's glaring deficiency. The Lakers never held a lead throughout the entire contest, falling behind by as many as 24 points in the second half as Houston completely dominated both ends of the floor. 6 different Rockets players scored at least 13 points, led by wing Amen Thompson's 26 points and superstar forward Kevin Durant's 25-point performance. The Lakers' defense was non-existent from the opening tip, unable to contain Houston's offensive onslaught and providing little resistance at any point during the game. Their supporting cast failed to provide adequate offensive support around superstars Luka Doncic and LeBron James, who both had relatively quiet nights by their standards, especially after star shooting guard Austin Reeves was forced to exit early due to a calf injury. In his post-game press conference, Lakers coach JJ Redick pulled no punches in his assessment of his team's performance and current state. The second-year coach described the Lakers as a terrible basketball team based on their lack of effort and execution, stating bluntly that his players don't care enough right now. Redick vowed to have some uncomfortable conversations with his roster, promising a practice and film session on Saturday that would force the team to confront their deficiencies head-on. It was a remarkably candid admission from a head coach about his team's mental state and commitment level. Immediately following Redick's scathing remarks, NBA insider Kevin O'Connor took to social media to share his bold prediction about the Lakers' future. O'Connor declared that trades are coming in Los Angeles, stating it's just a matter of who and when those moves will materialize. He emphasized that without significant roster changes, the Lakers have absolutely no chance of winning a championship this season. O'Connor's assessment carried particular weight given his connections throughout the league and his track record of accurately predicting major NBA transactions. When pressed about which players the Lakers should consider trading to retool around franchise cornerstone Luka Doncic, O'Connor didn't hesitate to suggest LeBron James as the most logical candidate for departure. However, he acknowledged that the situation surrounding Austin Reeves is far more complicated than it might initially appear. O'Connor noted that while Reeves is young and talented, his impending unrestricted free agency this summer creates a complex decision-making scenario for Lakers management. The insider explained that teams with significant cap space, particularly mentioning the Utah Jazz, are expected to make substantial offers to Reeves when he hits the open market. This raises a fundamental question about whether Reeves wants to remain in Los Angeles playing a secondary role behind the Luka Doncic show, similar to how Jalen Brunson had to accept a supporting role alongside Doncic in Dallas. If the Lakers believe Reeves might be a flight risk who will leave in free agency anyway, it could make sense to trade him now while they can still receive assets in return. However, O'Connor pointed out that rival teams are well aware of this dynamic, which complicates any potential trade scenarios. Other franchises would need to feel confident that Reeves wants to commit long-term to their organization before surrendering significant trade assets to acquire him. The same issue exists with LeBron James, who at 40 years old represents a short-term solution at best for any team acquiring. O'Connor concluded that there are not a lot of clear answers for the Lakers front office as they navigate these challenging decisions. Despite their recent 3-game losing streak, the Lakers currently sit in 4th place in the Western Conference with a 19-10 record. However, they hold just a 3-game cushion over the 7th-seeded Phoenix Suns, who stand at 16-13. This means the Lakers are dangerously close to slipping into the play-in tournament rather than securing a guaranteed playoff spot, which would be considered a massive disappointment given their championship expectations entering the season. Perhaps most concerning for Lakers fans is the team's defensive rating, which ranks 6th worst in the NBA at 118.1. For a team with championship aspirations, this defensive performance is completely unacceptable and represents the primary obstacle standing between the Lakers and genuine title contention. The lack of a legitimate defensive stopper on the wing has been particularly glaring, as opposing teams have repeatedly exploited this weakness throughout the season. This deficiency puts enormous pressure on general manager Rob Pelinka to find defensive help before the trade deadline or risk watching another season slip away. The combination of defensive struggles, offensive inconsistency from role players, injury concerns, and potential roster dissatisfaction creates a perfect storm of issues that the Lakers must address. Whether Pelinka chooses to make minor tweaks or pursue blockbuster trades remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: the current roster construction is insufficient to compete for a championship, and changes must be made if the Lakers hope to maximize their window with Luka Doncic while LeBron James remains capable of elite production. The Los Angeles Lakers have emerged as one of the most aggressive teams pursuing Sacramento Kings guard Keon Ellis ahead of the NBA trade deadline, but they face significant competition from at least half the league in what has become one of the most unexpected bidding wars of the season. Ellis represents the rare combination of affordable salary, defensive versatility, and three-point shooting ability that every contending team desperately needs, making him one of the hottest names on the trade market despite his diminished role and statistical decline this season. According to multiple NBA general managers who spoke about the situation, at least 15 teams have already inquired about Ellis's availability. One executive revealed that at least half the league has asked about him, noting that while the Lakers tend to get talked about more in media reports, everyone around the NBA absolutely loves what Ellis brings to the table. This widespread interest has emboldened the Sacramento Kings to seek a protected first-round pick in any potential trade package, an asking price that many around the league consider ambitious given Ellis's pending free agency and recent struggles. What makes the Ellis situation particularly fascinating is that his performance has actually declined significantly during the current season compared to his breakout campaign last year. Ellis is averaging just 5.3 points per game while shooting only 39.5% from the field and 35.6% from three-point range. These shooting percentages represent career lows for the fourth-year player, and his playing time has been slashed from 24.4 minutes per game last season to just 17.3 minutes this year under new Kings head coach Doug Christie. Despite these concerning statistics, Ellis remains highly coveted throughout the league for several compelling reasons. First and foremost, he represents a plug-and-play option who can immediately contribute to any team's rotation without requiring significant adjustment time or development. His defensive prowess and ability to knock down open three-pointers make him an ideal complementary piece for contending teams that already have their primary offensive options in place. Teams believe they can maximize Ellis's strengths by giving him a defined role where he focuses primarily on defense and spot-up shooting. The second major factor driving Ellis's market value is his incredibly affordable salary of just $2.3 million for this season. This modest cap hit allows teams to acquire him without making major salary sacrifices or running afoul of the NBA's restrictive luxury tax apron rules that have severely limited roster flexibility for many franchises. Teams can essentially take a player off the end of their bench, package a couple of second-round draft picks, and acquire someone who would immediately crack their regular rotation. Ellis's impending unrestricted free agency after this season would typically represent a significant negative factor in trade negotiations, as teams generally prefer to acquire players with multiple years of team control remaining. However, because his salary is so small and because his bird rights would transfer in any trade, acquiring teams could re-sign him next summer without eating into their available cap space. This unique financial situation makes Ellis an attractive target for teams planning their long-term roster construction, as they can add him now for minimal cost and then retain him in the offseason regardless of their cap situation. For the Lakers specifically, Ellis checks every box on their trade deadline wish list. The team desperately needs additional perimeter defenders who can help alleviate the defensive burden on their star players. Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and LeBron James all have defensive limitations, making it critical for the Lakers to surround them with plus defenders who can guard multiple positions. Ellis's reputation as one of the league's peskiest and most active perimeter defenders would provide an immediate upgrade to a Lakers defense that currently ranks 22nd in the NBA. Beyond his defensive contributions, Ellis would give the Lakers another reliable three-point shooter to space the floor for their offensive stars. Last season, Ellis shot an impressive 43.3% from beyond the arc, demonstrating the type of efficiency that makes him a perfect fit alongside ball-dominant creators like Doncic and James. Even with his shooting percentages down this year, scouts and executives around the league believe Ellis's struggles are more a product of his inconsistent role and diminished confidence in Sacramento's dysfunctional situation rather than any fundamental skill regression. The Lakers have also been linked to other potential trade targets who could address their defensive needs, including New Orleans Pelicans forward Herb Jones, Miami Heat forward Andrew Wiggins, LA Clippers forward Derrick Jones Jr., Brooklyn Nets guard Terrence Mann, Charlotte Hornets wing Josh Green, and Chicago Bulls guard Ayo Dosunmu. However, many of these players would require the Lakers to surrender their one tradable first-round pick from either 2031 or 2032, plus multiple salary matching contracts to make the mathematics work under salary cap rules. In contrast, Ellis could potentially be acquired for a package of second-round picks and expiring contracts, preserving the Lakers' limited first-round pick ammunition for a potential bigger move down the line. This makes Ellis an appealing target as either a standalone acquisition or as part of a multi-trade strategy where the Lakers make several smaller moves to address their roster deficiencies without mortgaging their future draft capital. The competition for Ellis's services includes several other playoff contenders who recognize his value. The New York Knicks have expressed interest as they look to add depth behind their starting backcourt. The Orlando Magic view Ellis as a potential defensive upgrade who could help them take the next step in their development. The Miami Heat and Portland Trail Blazers have also reportedly checked in on Ellis's availability, along with numerous other teams who have kept their interest more private. Whether the Kings ultimately receive the first-round pick they're seeking remains uncertain, as most executives believe that price is too steep for a player with Ellis's profile. However, Sacramento has every incentive to continue asking for a first-rounder and see if any team becomes desperate enough to meet their asking price as the trade deadline approaches. For the Lakers, acquiring Ellis would represent exactly the type of value-added move that could transform their season without requiring them to sacrifice core pieces or future assets, making him the perfect target as they look to shore up their championship credentials.